Welcome friends to our course of on international business. So, today we are coming to the last part of the fourth unit, in which we will be talking about Hofstede's cultural dimensions. So, before this we have we have discussed about the business environment, the factors affecting it, largely the political, economic, then social, technology, legal, all these different factors and how they are affecting business. But by the time I am standing here today, I am very happy to say that India has moved up one rank in the Human Development Index. So, it has moved from 130 to now 129, although it is not a very great record, but still there is something to be happy upon. So, what is Hofstede's cultural dimensions and how it has an impact on the business? So, what it basically says, and it was this study is named after Dr. Geert Hofstede, as you can see here, right, who Professor Hofstede and his associates conducted a very large scale research project in the year 67 to 73, and they conducted a survey among the IBM, International Business Machine, IBM employees, involving 1,16,000 participants in more than 70 countries. So, as you must be knowing, IBM is called as the Big Blue, it is called as the Big Blue. So, it has operations in several countries, a very globally renowned company. So, Hofstede did a survey in this time frame on 1,16,000 employees, and it found out 4 dimensions that could distinguish one culture from another. Now, in the earlier classes lectures we have discussed how culture affects business, right. So, this also helps in adding a dimension to understand how one culture varies from another and what are the major components or major dimensions that affect it. Later on, he added the 5th and 6th dimensions in cooperation with Dr. Michael H. Bond and Mikhail Minkov, right. So, these two researchers later on joined hands, and from their work Michael Geert Hofstede added 2 more dimensions, which is called the 5th and the 6th dimensions, which we will be discussing, right. So, earlier he started with 4 dimensions, and then towards the end he had 6 dimensions. So, the cultural dimensions represent independent preferences for one state of affairs over another that distinguish countries rather than the individuals from each other. So, it says on these parameters or these dimensions one can differentiate one country from the other. As I said, today India stands at 129 on the Human Development Index. So, India has a different kind of a culture. What kind of a culture India has? How India's culture is different from countries like, for example, Norway? What is the difference between the culture of India and let us say Japan? Now, the cultural differences, as we have seen in the past, that have a very large profound impact on the business. So, it becomes very important, and this that is why Hofstede's study is considered to be one of the most profound studies done in the area of international culture and related areas. So, Hofstede defines culture as the collective programming of the mind distinguishing the members of one group or category of people from others. So, he says it is a collective programming. Obviously, it is a collective programming of the mind, because a culture has several dimensions, and all these dimensions taken together then decide and can be given as a name called culture. So, if one has to understand, one cannot understand it from a by understanding it in a discrete manner, rather it has to be taken or understood from a holistic manner, taking all the points together, right. So, preferences, traditions, habits, all of them together, right. So, it says that is why the collective programming of the mind, right. Now, Hofstede's dimensions are something like this. So, power distance, right. So, it could be small power distance or big power distance, but what is the first factor is the power distance. Then it talks about individualistic societies versus collective societies. Then on basis of gender, is it masculine in nature or feminine in nature, right. Avoiding uncertainty, is it high or is it low, right. So, these were the initial 4 that Hofstede had generated, but later on from the other 2 researchers work, he added these 2 dimensions. One is the long term orientation versus short term orientation, and the last being indulgence or restraint, right. So, we will see all of them in detail. So, let us start, let us move ahead. So, when we move to the first one, power distance index, high versus low. Now, let us look at this diagram. If you will see, what do you understand from this diagram? There is one person sitting at a very at the top, and all others are looking upon looking up to him. Similarly, it seems like somebody is trying to order a person, and there is a huge one person has a lot of power and the other has absolutely no power. So, power distance, this dimension expresses the degree to which the less powerful members of a society accept and expect that power is distributed unequally. The fundamental issue here is how a society handles inequalities among people. So, if there is if the power distance is high, that means we will understand that there is a lot of gap among the people. So, it is understood that there is huge inequality or inequality among the people, right. So, in societies with high or large power distance, they accept a hierarchical order in which everybody has a place which needs no further justification, right. That means somebody is superior and somebody is inferior, right. So, the person higher up on the order in the hierarchy has a lot of power, immense power, and he can do something in the society whatever he wants to, right. But on the other hand, a person with the low power distance is somebody whose voice is not heard, right. So, countries which follow in which a high power distance is observed are countries like Malaysia, Mexico, Panama, Philippines, Singapore, and even India, I would add, right, India, right. India has a high power distance, that is why you will see that there is a lot of difference between a bureaucrat and a person, a common man, right, the power that one exercises. Even a person who is a member of the legislative assembly or a member of the parliament, the kind of power he holds is quite high and very much above a common man, right. In societies with low power distance or small power distance, people strive to equalize the distribution of power and demand justification for inequalities of power, right. So, here what happens when there is a small or low power distance, everybody is considered to be more or less equal. So, people strive to equalize the distribution of power. So, you see all the generally if I observe good countries like Austria, Denmark, Finland, Israel, New Zealand, these countries have got a low power distance. So, that means the gap between one person to the other is very less. That means you are free to go and talk to the other person, you are not afraid of talking to somebody. But in a country where the power distance is high, you will be even scared maybe to get into the room of or the office of another person, because he is on a higher authority. Okay. So, the differences as observed by Hofstede. So, this has been taken from Hofstede's paper Dimensionalizing Cultures, right. So, here what he talks about small and small power distance versus the large power distance. So, he says use of power should be legitimate and is subject to the criteria of good and evil. So, when there is a small power distance, this is what is the thought process, and in case of countries where large power distance is there, power is the thought process is power is the basic fact of the society, antedating good or evil, its legitimacy is irrelevant. What you feel, what people in such countries feel is that it is a basic fact of the society, somebody will be less powerful and somebody will be more powerful, you have to accept it the way, right, that way. But in other places where there is a small power distance, you say power should be legitimate, you cannot say somebody is more powerful, somebody is less, power should be equally distributed. Parents treat children as equals in countries with small power distance, right. Older people are neither respected nor feared. For example, in India, we will see that when there is a senior person comes, we tend to touch their feet. Fine, that is good, very good, nobody is denying, but there is either a respect or there is a fear, it could be out of anything, right. So, this is a case where there is a large power distance, you have such kind of high respect or high fear, but in those countries you do not see this. Student centered education, here teacher centered education. So, the teacher dictates what is to be taught, right, in the classroom. Hierarchy means inequality of roles established for convenience, right. This is in the small power distance, and in the large it says hierarchy means existential inequality, right. So, there is a hierarchy and that would be some inequality. Subordinates expect to be consulted, in this case subordinates expect to be told what to do, they cannot do anything on their own, they have to be told. So, they expect something to be told, ordered, they have to be directed. Pluralist governments based on majority vote and changed peacefully. Here autocratic governments based on co-optation and changed by revolution. So, when there is a high power distance, obviously the person with the highest authority in the, let us say for example, the highest people in the government, they would do something whatever they like, and when, for example, let me I do not know how far this example would be correct, but then today India has, there is a revolution going on. Students in different universities and colleges are talking about one important law that has come up, the Citizenship Amendment Bill. Now, there is a huge uproar in the society, and people are talking about it, and there have been a lot of agitations and revolutions. Now, to stop this, there is an ultimate use of force. Now, that is something is an example of a large power distance, right. Corruptions are rare, scandals and political careers. So, today the President of America is going to be impeached, right. So, it is the third case in the American history. So, but on the other hand, when the power distance is high, the corruption is very frequent, scandals are just covered up, and in India we have seen so many different scandals, so many scams, right. So, the helicopter scam, the fodder scam, you name it, there are so many scams in India and they have been covered up. So, that is nothing, that is not a very great thing to have. Income distribution in society rather even, and here it is very uneven. Religions stressing equality of believers, religions with a hierarchy of priests. For example, again let us look at India, and we have the caste system which distributes or divides the people on basis of a hierarchy. Somebody thought to be at the topmost level, which has been a curse for this country for so many hundreds of thousands of years, right. So, this is how the power distance map, world map looks like. So, as you see, when there is a small, it is more or less white or light green, and when it is large, it is dense. So, this portion is highly dense, this portion is dense, this is dense, this is dense. So, you can look at the colors, and some like for example, this part is not very dense, so light. So, there is a small power distance, right. So, this is how the world power distance map looks like. Okay. The next is individualism versus collectivism. Now, if you can again see here, there is a me versus a we, right. So, in this we say it is a collectivist society, and this is a individual society, right. This refers to the strength of the ties that people have to others within their community, right. A high individualism score, right, indicates weak interpersonal connection among those who are not part of a core family. Here people take less responsibility for others' actions and outcomes. So, when there is a high individualism, people are more focused on themselves or their very close immediate family members or close friends, and they do not take responsibility of the society where they live. So, some of the examples are Australia, Canada, Great Britain, Netherlands, USA, etc. On the other hand, in a collectivist society, people are supposed to be loyal to the group and not an individual to which they belong, and in exchange the group will defend their interests. The group itself is normally larger and people take responsibility for one another's well-being. So, Panama, Pakistan, Ecuador, Guatemala, Venezuela, etc. Now, that is very interesting if somebody wants to compare, although when we see the say the word individualism versus collectivism, it looks as if individualism is not a very good thing and collectivism is very good. But if we look at the kind of examples we have here, most of the developed countries have this individualistic society, and on the other hand these countries which are not doing economically well rather have a collectivist society. Now, that is a point of research or argument which is better and why otherwise it is happening. Otherwise, if you look at from a point of view, and you might think that collectivist society is better because people are taking each other's responsibility, but then the result does not figure out in the same way, because most of these countries that I can see are either underdeveloped countries or poor countries. Okay. So, what are the differences? Everyone in individualism is supposed to take care of him or her and is our immediate family only. Here people are born into extended families which protect them in exchange for loyalty. Here I, here is we. Right of privacy is high, stress on belonging, right. Speaking one's mind is healthy, harmony should always be maintained. Others classified as individuals, others classified as in group or out group, right. Personal opinion expected, one person one vote, opinions and votes predetermined by the in group. So, in a collectivist society, for example, let us look at a society like India or Pakistan, where the religious leaders have a lot of fan following and gathering, and they can even change the government, they can support a government or go against a government, and can even change the policies of the government just because they have a large fan following or a large followers with them. So, this is one thing that the collectivist society gives, right. So, these are some of the points, right. Purpose of education is learning how to learn, purpose of education is learning how to do. So, these are some of the things that comes in the difference between individualism and collectivism. So, this is how the world map again looks, right. So, the darker it looks, for example, these places, this is a individualistic society, and the lighter it looks, for example, these places or these places, these are the ones which are more of a collectivist society. Okay. So, where is India? India is here, right. So, how does India look like? You can find out, it is neither very dark nor very light. So, in between. So, this is a range, right. The next thing is as Hofstede found out was the gender. On basis of gender, he differentiated he understood the culture, masculinity versus femininity. So, now this is whether you can see this is like two sides, and there is a man or a woman symbolizing man and woman, and now it shows an equal balance, but in most of the cultures it is not true. So, it could be weighing towards the male, or very rarely in some societies we say very rare, I think it would be weighing towards the feminine gender. So, masculinity and femininity revolve around the emotional role distribution between genders. In masculine societies, the roles of men and women overlap less, right, and men are expected to behave assertively because they are men, right, masculine. Demonstrating success and being strong and fast are seen as positive characteristics. So, success is considered to be a masculine criteria, and being strong. In masculine cultures, differences between gender roles are more rigid. So, examples Italy, Austria, Japan, Switzerland, etc. Its opposite is the femininity, stands for a preference for cooperation, modesty, caring for the weak and quality of life. In feminine cultures, difference between gender roles are less rigid and seen as positive characteristics, right. So, some examples are Costa Rica, Denmark, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, etc. So, in the difference, if you can see, though whatever you associate with the feminine, softness, calm, patience are when it is high, then those societies or cultures are called as feminine cultures. When it is more aggressive, trying to be dominant, only winning, these are called the masculine cultures. So, I have seen in many for example, in India also we have a lot of masculinity still existing. People believe in a lot of success, winning and these things, but there is femininity also in India, but there are few countries which can be categorically clearly discriminated, right, as we have written over here. So, we have not written about India, that is one reason could be. So, what are the major differences? Femininity and masculinity. Minimum emotional and social role differentiation between the genders. So, not much difference. Maximum emotional and social role differentiation between the genders in case of masculinity. Men and women should be modest and caring, both men and women should be modest in feminine cultures. Men should be and women should may be assertive, men should be assertive, women may be, and ambitious. Okay. Balance between family and work, right. Work prevails over family. So, it's success, work that comes over family in a masculine culture. In feminine culture, it is a balance between family and work. Sympathy for the weak, admiration, admiration for the strong, right. Somebody is strong, we tend to admire. So, both father and mother deal with facts and feelings. Fathers deal with the facts, mothers with feelings, right. So, I wonder if I would be saying India would surely fall into this, right, because for years we have seen how fathers have been dealing with facts and mothers with feelings. My personal opinion. Both boys and girls may cry, but neither should fight. Girls cry, boys do not. I think you must have all heard thousands of times in India. Boys should fight back, girls should not fight. So, this is how our our brains mapping has happened. Mothers decide on the number of children, fathers decide on the family size. Many women in elected political positions, few women. Religious focuses on fellow human beings, religious focus on gods or goddesses, whatever. Matter of fact attitudes about sexuality, sex is a way of relating. Moralistic attitudes about sexuality, sex is a way of performing. So, this is all the difference between a feminine and a masculine culture, right. So, this is again how the world looks like. So, you see India is slightly towards the more towards the masculine, and these places Russia or that zone, that cold belt, right, is towards the more of the towards the feminine as it shows from this map, right. But more or less the world is more towards the masculine itself, if I am not wrong, right. The next is the uncertainty avoidance index. It could be high versus low. So, what is uncertainty avoidance? It is the extent to which the members belonging to the society are capable of doing with future uncertainty without going through stress, or members of the culture feel threatened by uncertain or unknown situations. So, there can be two things. There could be a situation to which you are not very much aware or clear. So, how much stressed are you when there is something uncertainty in front of you? So, how much do we avoid uncertainty? So, this is what we will discuss in this point. The uncertainty avoidance dimension expresses the degree to which the members of a society feel uncomfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity. The fundamental issue here is how a society deals with the fact that the future can never be known. Should we try to control the future or just let it happen? I will give you a very interesting insight. You must have seen that many a times when food is offered to us, right, sometimes although we do not feel too much hungry, we tend to overeat, right. Why is that? In some other way, if you see, it is connected with our fear, the fear of not getting food in the future time period, right. That means, I am scared that once I go out of my home, maybe I will get food or not get food. So, this fear, because of this fear, I am trying to eat more and store more energy in me. So, countries showing strong uncertainty avoidance index maintain rigid codes of belief and behavior and are intolerant of unorthodox behavior. So, if there is no flexibility, it is quite rigid. People attempt to make life as predictable and controllable as possible. Belgium, Greece, Guatemala, Portugal, Uruguay, etc. People in low uncertainty avoidance index countries are more relaxed, open or inclusive, right, and indicates high tolerance towards differing opinions and behaviors. Now, for example, there is a controversy going on, right, that India is changing. Now, some people say, I do not know, I am not getting into this argument, but people say that our tolerance levels are going down, and India at one point of time, although I was reading an article where it says that India at one point of time might not have been a very great economy, right, just few years back, 2-3 decades back, but it was surely a very tolerant country, but that measure is coming down with time. So, these are kind of changes that happens with cultures. Okay. So, how is it different? Let us see. Weak uncertainty avoidance, strong uncertainty avoidance. The uncertainty inherent in life is accepted and each day is taken as it comes. So, weak here means that means less, weak or less uncertainty avoidance. So, one is not very much worried. The uncertainty inherent in life is felt as a continuous threat that must be fought. Ease, lower stress, self control, low anxiety. High stress, emotionality, anxiety, neuroticism, right. Higher scores on subjective health and well-being, lower scores on subjective health. So, the point is what we are doing here is we are our way of thinking is more stressed, is we are trying to make our future more predictable. That is no wonder I see lot of numerologists and palmists in India, because we all want to know our future so that we can control our future. Otherwise, if that would not have been true, we would not have been interested to go to a palmist and know our future, right. Why should we know the future unless we want to control it? So, this is what our thought processes are, right. Comfortable with ambiguity and chaos, need for clarity and structure. Teachers may say, I do not know. Teachers are supposed to have all the answers, right. But that is changing with slightly with more education and intermingling of cultures, it is changing slowly. Dislike of rules written or unwritten, emotional need of rules even if not obeyed, right. So, in religion, philosophy and science, relativism and empiricism, in religion, philosophy and science believe in ultimate truth and grand theories, right. So, these are some of the differences, and this is how the world looks like, and this is where is India, right. The next two parameters that Hofstede took and added was, one is long versus short term orientation. So, what is this? The last two dimensions were found later and in different studies than the first four. These maps have been taken from the 2007 book Why We Are Different and Similar by Michael Minkoff. In the first slide I showed you. This dimension was originally described as pragmatic versus non-normative. It refers to the time horizon people in a society display. Countries with a long term orientation tend to be pragmatic, modest and more cautious, and encourage thrift, or that means to move away, right, and efforts in modern education as a way to prepare for the future, right. Example, in short term oriented countries on the other hand, people to place more emphasis on the principles, consistency and truth, and are typically religious and nationalistic. This is an example. Today I am not very happy when the word nationalist is being attached with every and with every moment, every feeling of yours in a country, and maybe you are asked to stand up during even watching a movie, or even you are asked to think in a way, otherwise you will be criticized to be anti-national. So, these are some of the worries that I have, and no wonder this falls in this category. Okay. In the business context, this dimension is referred to as normative versus pragmatic. In the academic environment, the terminology monumentalism versus flex humility is sometimes also used, right. A poor country that is short term oriented usually has little to no economic development, right, short term. So, this is the short term, and we should not fall prey to such kind of thoughts, right. So, but anyway this is not the right forum to talk about it. So, while long term oriented countries continue to develop to a point. So, right. Okay. So, these are some of the differences again, short term and long term. So, short term, most important events in life occurred in the past or take place now. Most important events in life will occur in the future. So, the future is more beautiful. Personal steadiness and stability, a good person is always the same, a good person adapts to the circumstances. These are universal guidelines about what is good and evil. What is good and evil depends upon the circumstances. Okay. Traditions are sacrosanct. So, what is a tradition you have to follow? The Talibans were very plundered, they destroyed the countries because they had they felt they had a tradition which they have to follow it whatever the cost may be. So, such kind of Talibanistic thoughts are not very great, right. Traditions are adaptable to change circumstances. So, these are long term orientations, and countries which fall into this category will do better obviously. Family life guided by imperatives, guided by shared tasks. So, you can go through the other points, social spending and consumption, large savings quote funds available for investment. Students attribute success and failure to luck, whereas here success and failure is attributed to effort and failure to lack of effort. Slow or no economic growth of poor countries, fast economic growth of countries up till a level of prosperity. So, the last two dimensions. So, this is how the this looks like, right. The different colors are given and you can go through it, right. The last point is indulgence versus restraint. So, it says indulgence stands for a society that allows relatively free gratification of basic and natural human drives related to enjoying life and having fun. It describes happiness and the importance of leisure, controlling your own life and freedom of expression. Restraint stands for a society that suppresses gratification of needs and regulates it by means of strict social norms. So, now are we in a transitional phase? Are we moving from an indulgence to a restrained society? We do not know, right. How are they different? Higher percentage of people declaring themselves very happy, fewer very happy people, a perception of personal life control, a perception of helplessness. What happens to me is not my own doing, it is all I must have done something in my last life. So, this is what we say, right. Who has seen last life? Nobody, but then we have nothing else to blame. So, we say I must have done something wrong in my last life. Freedom of speech seen as important, freedom of speech is not a primary concern, right. Higher importance of leisure, lower importance of leisure, more likely to remember positive emotions, less likely to remember positive emotions. More people actively involved in sports, few people actively involved in sports. In wealthy countries, lenient sexual norms, in wealthy countries stricter sexual norms, right. In wealthy country here. So, the sexual norms, for example, India or I am giving the example of India because obviously I am an Indian. So, we have seen how sexual freedom has been curbed to such a large extent. Till now homosexuality has been was being punished, people were thought it is a mental problem, right. So, so many things could occur up. Maintaining order in the nation is not given a high priority, higher number of police officers per a lakh population. So, these are the differences that are majorly there in a indulgence and a restrained society. So, this is how it looks like, right. So, cultural differences we have seen do impact businesses occurring in cross cultural contexts. A lot of problems arise in the matter of negotiation, communication, management, international marketing and other relational areas. However, if business leaders or even the staff understand issues with respect to Hofstede's 6 cultural dimensions, these problems can be analyzed through a different perspective or lens and necessary steps can be taken to address these problems. For example, if you want to market cars in a country where the uncertainty avoidance is high, you should emphasize their safety, whereas in other countries you may base your advertisement on the social image they give you. Workers from high power distance countries can generally be expected to show great respect to seniors and those in authority. So, one has to understand what kind of a culture it is. In highly individualistic societies, group loyalty may be comparatively lower, right. Employment practices that increase job security are likely to be favored in countries with high uncertainty avoidance cultures. Okay. So, these are some of the things which Hofstede pointed out, and no culture is permanent or nothing is permanent, right. It is all the cultures, because there is an intercultural mix, it is constantly moving, it is very dynamic and changing. So, many countries are some countries move from one phase to the other, and this exercise goes on. As people move from one place to the other, they take their habits and cultures with them, and that goes on and intermingles with the new place, and new transition happens. So, this is all what we had to discuss today, and I hope you enjoyed the class and you learnt. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.